Okay. Trust me when I say you are definitely going to enjoy this lesson, because this is what most of the learners find difficult. But trust me when I say, if you can pay maximum attention, you will definitely understand everything that I'm going to explain. And I would also encourage you to redo these same things that I have done, so that it sinks before you do exercises or any test. It could be exam, whatever the case may be, doesn't matter what the nature of the evaluation is. Special angles is exactly what I'm going to be talking about. You can see there we have triangle A, triangle B, triangle C. So these are the special angles because they never change, honorable member. They never change. They are always like this. So let me just make you aware of something so that you don't get confused when your teacher explains it differently. You remember most, the sum of the inside angles of a triangle, they must just add up to 180. So with this being 90, if for triangle A, this is where we are having 30 degrees. That means here we are having 60 degrees. And again, let's focus on triangle B. So for triangle B, if this is 90 degrees and that angle there is 45, definitely even this one, it has to be 45, so that when you add all the inside angles, they add up to 180 degrees. So I did triangle A, B, and C, 3 of them. But your teacher may just talk about only 2 triangles, because this side of this first triangle, it will always be square root of 3. This side, it will always be 1. That side, it will always be 2. So this triangle alone is a combination of those 2. But when you do it this way, that's when it causes confusion, especially when you are new to this topic. So I would advise you to master my lesson before you can worry about studying it in this way of having a combined combined angles. Just do it as separate. You will see why as I continue. This one of 45, it doesn't really matter that much whether the angle is there or there. You will always have 1 there, 1 there, and then 2 will always be the hypotenuse. So I'm going to remove all this in red because I don't want you to learn it that way. I want you to learn it this way that I'm going to explain until you master it. Once you've mastered it, then any other explanation you will fully understand, but you won't need to follow that way of doing it. Because if you can master it this way that I'm doing, then you won't struggle even when you do some more complicated problems. Even though what I'm going to be doing now, it is complicated, even to learners who are at varsity, they would still find it difficult. So let me not waste much of our precious time and then start deal with the problems decisively. So an example would be, let's say A. It's not like it's complicated stuff, honorable member. They can just simply say evaluate what I'm going to be writing without using a calculator. That's the trick about it. They want you to work it out without using a calculator. You might think that it's going to be a complicated thing until you look at how we work it out, and you will realize that actually this thing is not complicated. Why? What did we say about cos? What is the ratio for cos? So that means you will now need to remember a soccer too. Maybe let me write it there. What did we say? We said okay, soccer. S for sine, C for cos, T for tan, O for opposite, hypotenuse, adjacent, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. I'm pretty much sure that by now you know which side is which. If you do not know, then which means you are in a big trouble, honorable member. Which means you will have to go back to the lesson where I teach you about the sides. Okay, what is the ratio for cos? So for cos, we do know very well that cos is actually adjacent over hypotenuse. Now, okay, then it's fine because of space. Okay, it's fine. I'll just do it the way I would prefer. So, because they said cos for 45, they are simply saying focus on the special angle for 45 degrees. Which one is it? Is triangle B. So for triangle B, which side is adjacent? Which side is hypotenuse? Definitely adjacent is 1 and then hypotenuse is square root of 2. Besa or qetelle. Imagine, this is exactly what they want you to do. And people find it difficult. This is exactly what they want you to do. Okay, maybe let's do another example. Let's say this is B. Maybe for B, let's say for B we are having cos of 60 degrees. So cos of 60 degrees, which triangle are we going to look at? We check the triangle that has special angle of 60. Yes, it's triangle C. Okay, what is the ratio for cos? Again, it's adjacent over hypotenuse. So what is the adjacent for that angle of 60? Adjacent, it should be 1 over, what is the hypotenuse? Definitely it is 2. Yes. So that means, honorable member, cos of 60 degrees, it is equals to 1 over 2. So in an exam, because they said do not use a calculator, they are going to give you the marks based on the steps. You might be shocked when, for example, they give you that and they just look at that final answer. Maybe they just give you that. But if you just jump from cos 60 degrees to that, they will just give you wrong because they want you to use your knowledge, not the calculator. So that means you must prove it in terms of the steps to say it is this over that and then it is 1 over that. That's how you work it out, honorable member. Maybe let's do C. So for C, okay, let's say we have tan of 45 degrees. Which triangle are we going to be dealing with? Triangle number 2, the one for 45 degrees, triangle B. What is the ratio for tan? We start there. The ratio for tan, tanuwa, opposite, or adjacent. Okay, then it's fine. So what is opposite of that 45 degrees? Definitely is 1. What is adjacent is 1. Oh, okay, it looks like this is just 1 because 1 over 1 is 1. Then that is the end of it. So that's how you deal with it decisively, honorable member. Not that much complicated, not that much difficult. It is just a straightforward problem. Okay, then it's fine. Maybe let's do another example. For this example, let us say we have what? Okay, let's say we have sine of 30 degrees. What I know is that sine is the ratio of sino, opposite over hypotenuse. So for which triangle? Triangle A. And then what is the opposite of that 30 angle? Definitely is 1. What is the hypotenuse? Definitely it is 2. So that means that is the end of it. That's how you would work it out, honorable member. So those are the easy calculations. Now I'm going to expose you to what may be considered to be difficult. Most importantly, please be aware that those special angles, those triangles, you will need to know them by heart, because in an exam they won't give you. In a test you won't be given. You need to know them by heart, so that when they say cos 60, then with a pencil you can quickly draw it and then refer to it. You can even draw 3 of them, just so that you know for any question you are ready. So what may be considered difficult, that's if they say sine 30 degrees and then they plus it with cos of 60 degrees. This is what you may be given. But it's not complicated, because already separately we did sine 30 degrees and separately we did cos 30 degrees. I'm just saying this is what we did. We did cos that, we did sine that. So it's like we just have to combine those two. By combining, I mean we just add them. That's what we are actually doing, because we even know already the final answer of those things. So, okay. But remember, this is a separate question. You need to refer. So what is the ratio for sine? That's where you start. You will therefore say opposite over hypotenuse. That you need to plus it with. What is the one for cos? Adjacent over hypotenuse. And then what is the opposite for sine 30? Which triangle? We look at triangle A, the one that has 30 degrees. And then what is the opposite for that triangle? Opposite is 1, hypotenuse is 2. So that means you have 1 over 2 for that one. Then you say plus, what about cos of 60 degrees? You go to that triangle C. At triangle C, what is adjacent is 1. What is hypotenuse is 2. So it's like you have 1 over 2 plus 1 over 2. Mathematically, I know that 1 over 2 is a half. So it's like you're saying half plus half. What is half plus half? Half plus half is 1. But you don't just work it out that way. You need to prove it. Just like I have taught you previously, where I was saying when you have a fraction, it is that multiplying with that, which means it is 2 multiplying with 2. This 2 cross multiplies with that. It's like 2 multiplying with 1 plus, you can just say that 2 multiplying with that 1. And then you have this times that, which is 2, that times that, which is 2, over that times that, it's 4. So at the top, you have 2 plus 2, which is 4, over 4, which is equals to 1. So that's how you would work it out with you proving that. So for you to verify if your final answer is correct, that's what I like about trigonometry. If you punch this plus that on your calculator, it must give you that. If it doesn't give you that, then you know you've done something wrong somewhere. But most importantly, you must do all these calculations without using a calculator. So you use the calculator just to know what the final answer should be, or what to expect, or if you want to verify your final answer. But otherwise, you need to work it out this way, where you put an ink on paper. Very much important, that part where you show all the necessary steps. Okay, maybe this one of example B, let's say tan 60. Remember, it's best for you to redo this same exercise examples that I'm doing, and then check if you would work it out and get to what I got to before you do any exams or anything. Okay, so what is tan? The ratio for tan we know is opposite over adjacent. That's what we need to do for now. What is cos? Cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then those angles, we just use them to know which triangle we are going to refer to. So we have those triangles there. So it's a question of the one for 60, tan 60, the one for 60, what is opposite to 60? It is square root of 3. What is adjacent is 1 minus, let's see, adjacent for cos 30, adjacent it is square root of 3. And then let's see, what will be the hypotenuse? Definitely it's going to be 2. So I looked at triangle C, and then I also looked at triangle A. Okay, then it's fine. So what would I do here? Remember, I just said this multiplies with that. Remember the lesson about the fractions. Then this multiplies with that. It cross multiplies, then you have 2 square root of 3 minusing this cross multiplies with that, and then it's what is it? Invisible 1 there. Most importantly, it doesn't end here, honorable member. It definitely doesn't end here, but it's like, you remember we have invisible 1 there. It's like you have 2x minus 1x. What will that be? It's just going to be 1x. So it's like 2 square root of 3 minus 1 square root of 3. It will definitely be that, and that is the end of it, honorable member. So I will not forget to let you know that the nice thing is that if you punch tan 60 minus cos 30 on your calculator, it should give you that. Even if it gives you as a decimal, if it gives you as a decimal, again, punch this final answer and check what it is as a decimal form. It will give you the same answer. So just don't get surprised when you punch it and it gives you a decimal. It could be the setting on your calculator, or it could be the type of a calculator that you're using, which does not have that fraction button thing. So yeah, this is how you would work it out. I'm just wondering if I should do one more or two more. One more or two more. Okay, it's fine. Let me do two more, just so that at least in one lesson you'll be exposed to different types of problems. Okay, let's say for this one of C, I will not refer to those triangles because I'm going to assume that you have them on the side. Just draw them somewhere on your paper, and then as I work it out, you will at least refer to there, just so that I don't go back to there. And then let's say you have that, and then you have tan of 30 degrees there. Okay, so what we know is that the moment you have this one and that one, and you know both are ratios, rather do it this way and say sine is opposite. Maybe let me not take a shortcut so that you understand what I'm talking about. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Then you'll have this big fraction, this big fraction where you have tan. Tan being tan being opposite over adjacent. So instead of you doing it that way, why not do it this way and just say that one at the top being opposite over that, and then you use that division sign, and then you say opposite over adjacent, just so that just like you did in primary, you end up having O over H, and then you multiply, then that one goes to the top, that one goes to the bottom. That is the end goal. And then now you can nicely continue and say sine of 30. It looks like I might need to go back there. And say for 30 we are concentrating on triangle A, and then sine 30 sine 30 opposite is 1 over 2, that is the hypotenuse, and then we have a multiplication in between, and then that one is tan 30. Okay, again, tan 30, tan opposite is 1 over adjacent. What will the adjacent be? Tan 30. Tan. No, it's not 1. Yes, because I'm thinking and I realize, nope. Tanua. Then it's going to be adjacent. What is the adjacent? Is square root of 3, and then opposite is 1. Okay, let me just come back here so that you're not confused. Remember, I'm substituting there. This is where I'm substituting, because remember, we had it as this over that, and then we said let's redo it like this, the primary way, and then we ended up getting to there. Then this is what I'm looking at when I look at opposite and then hypotenuse, that being the adjacent, and then that's how I ended up substituting there. Then now it should be easier, because all that you need to do is just to multiply. This one multiplies with that, this one multiplies with that, and then you end up having 1 times 1 is 1 square root of 3, 2 times 1 is just 2, and that should be the end of it. So that means if you take your calculator and punch this, expect to get that. That's how it works with this trigonometry. That's why it's interesting. That's why it is easier. Maybe let's do one more. Let's do one more. Not necessarily one more, but we can add another one. And let's say we have now, let's not complicate it and just say cos squared 45 degrees. What do we know? What we know is that this thing is the same as cos 45 degrees squared. I hope this is what we know. So, what will cos 45 be? We go to that triangle. Let's see, 45 is triangle B. And what we know is that cos is adjacent over hypotenuse. And then, what is the adjacent? It's 1. What is the hypotenuse? Is square root of 2. Yes. So, adjacent is 1. Hypotenuse is square root of 2. Then you just use that law of exponent, which says the exponent to that and the exponent to that. So that means it's 1 squared over square root of 2, and then you square it. That's why you put it inside the brackets, because it's a sort. So that means 1 squared is 1. Square root of 2 squared, we know it removes, it cancels that square root, you just remain with that. Then it means this is the end of it. Because on a calculator you can't punch that. This is what you punch, and then it will definitely give you a half, 1 over 2. So yeah, this is what is meant to be difficult or complicated as far as special angles are concerned. Maybe let me squeeze in another problem. Let me see if I've got a space. I want to squeeze in something interesting there. Maybe let me use this space. I hope it will be enough. Otherwise, if not, I'll just make a plan. Okay. Let's see. What do I want to do there? I'm just trying to think. Okay, let's say you are given an equation and they want you to solve the equation without using a calculator. Let's say you are given 2 and then cos x, maybe they minus square root of 3, and they equate this one to 0. They say solve it without using the calculator. What are you solving? You're solving for x. X obviously is an angle because of the position. So let's just try to simplify it. What we know is that we have 2 cos x, which should be equal to, you take that to the other side, it becomes square root of 3. Then we need to detach that. How do we detach it? Definitely we will divide by that so that it cancels. So that means we have cos of x, which is equals to square root of 3 over 2. Remember, what are you looking for? You are actually looking for the x value. what do we know about the ratio for cos? For cos, we know that it is adjacent over hypotenuse. That's what we know. Am I right in saying that cos are adjacent over hypotenuse? Yes. Okay. So that means square root of 3, it is the adjacent, and then 2, it is the hypotenuse. So it's like now we need to try find the angle whereby cos of that angle, it is the one which is the same as that square root of 3 over 2. So we need to now go to those triangles. Maybe let me use a different color there. So you see now you're going to be thinking deep to say, could it be angle 30? Could it be angle 45? Could it be angle 60? So you need to look for where you have that being your adjacent and that being your hypotenuse. I think it's triangle A, because if we check that 30, definitely this is the adjacent side and this is the hypotenuse side. So that means the angle is 30. That is the correct one. And then if you had to test with this one of 45, for 45 adjacent is 1. Already the one for 45 has failed. What if it was the one for 60? Let's see. The one for 60 adjacent is what? For 60 adjacent is 1. It also failed. So that means those two fails. The one that doesn't fail is that one of 30. So that means you just say 30. So you can work it out easily up to this step. Then the last step is for you to test with the one for 30 if it's true, the one for 60 if it's true, the one for 45 if it's true. Then the one that is true, then in answering the question, you will therefore say x is equals to 30 degrees. But don't worry that much about this type of questions for now. You just need to make sure that you redo everything that I've done, just so that at least you know that before you get to these complicated problems, at least, even if it take you longer, but you know what you are doing. So trust me when I say not that much complicated, definitely not that much complicated, but if you can pay maximum attention, everything is going to make sense. You don't just do something once and then immediately you know it. You just have to do the same thing over and over and over again. I'm telling you, I used to do these things the whole day. Writing, rewriting, writing, rewriting, checking what I got wrong, redoing it, and all of that. Until they made sense. Imagine to date, they still make sense to me. Okay, then it's fine. What else did I miss? I don't think I missed anything. I definitely do not think that I missed anything, but I think this is it. I think this is it. When I say I think this is it, I'm simply saying I think this is all that I have to explain. Okay, then it's fine. I will leave it here until we meet again.